pricking of my thumbs. Something wicked this way comes. Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn, and cauldron bubble.
Folks, welcome to Werewolf Radar, the world's premier paranormal preparedness podcast. My name's Jordan Dahl.
I am Nate Balding.
I'm Roger Norquist.
And today's episode of Werewolf Radar is brought to you by Monstroko brand Imitation Jimmy Buffett. Do you have a recipe that requires Jimmy Buffett, but you don't have any on hand? Try some Monstroko brand Imitation Jimmy Buffett from Monstroko. Hey, you're not Jimmy Buffett. That's apparently the slogan on the packet. If you're making a casserole and it says like 1 pound finely ground Jimmy Buffett, which is really hard to get a hold of, especially at this time of year, you don't have to. Just hook up with Monstroko, send them all of your information. They need your address, your blood type, and your soul type. And they will send you a box with all the imitation Jimmy Buffett meat that you want. Now, it doesn't say on here that it's not made from another person. And I think that might be what they're doing, just taking people and grinding them up and being like, tastes just like Jimmy Buffett.
Like Jimmy B, but the B is for like bank.
Right. Or like James Buffet or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My understanding was that it was a plant-based Jimmy Buffett that they were growing like in Buffett gardens.
Mm-hmm. I believe they're called Buffett Tuffets.
Yeah, the Buffett Tuffet. It opens up every couple of weeks. This is how long it takes to
releases a new Jimmy.
Releases a new Jimmy just screaming into the world.
Who lives for 6 terrifying minutes before the kill squad
straight into the grinder.
Triangulates the screams. And then you get fresh imitation Jimmy Buffett. And boy, if you've never had queso dip made with ground up Jimmy Buffett, ooh,
you ain't living.
Queso con Jimmy.
Yeah, exactly. You know. Yep. Ow. I stepped on a pop top.
Oh, that's crazy. You know what else is crazy?
Yeah, go on.
I have some recent news that blew my mind.
Oh shit, is it the werewolf at the fence?
No, that's for Friday.
My young adult novel?
Your young adult novel will be news when it's finally published, Jordan. I assure you.
Okay.
But
is that like the boy in the striped pajamas was an
yeah, you know about it. You know about it. You've read it. You did a couple of punch-ups.
I don't like the word punch-ups for what I just heard as the premise. So Kristen Stewart is announcing an open casting for super gay ghost hunting reality series.
Yeah.
They really missed an opportunity to say open casket call.
Kristen, you're blowing it already.
Go to her Instagram, which is
Okay, Stu.
Oh no, it's not her Instagram, but CJ Romero, who is working with Kristen on the show for Scout Productions.
Okay.
Jay Romero.
I actually got my agent sent me the link for this. He was like, they're casting for this paranormal show. And I read into it and I was like, but I'm not gay. And he was like, well, better get started.
And that's why you've been using your Peloton so much.
I'm trying to get
that look.
I'm trying to get gay hot for the beach.
They are asking for, are you a medium, historian, ghost hunting expert, and also a member of the LGBTQIA plus community?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well, if
all
so,
right, Jordan,
please go
you could
to
be
the
in
link.
the plus column.
I tried to float that by. I was like, I'm an ally. And he was like, nice try. Get on the Peloton.
So they're looking, go to, once again, CJ Romero on Instagram. He has a Instagram picture of green hair and his eyes are covered by hands and his tongue is up.
Oh,
overall it's a weird photo, but it does contain the link, and Scout Productions is the production company, so check that out because that'd be cool if you got that. If a Werewolf Radar Pingo became a co-host with Kristen Stewart.
Yeah, you can shout us out on the show. 'Cause I'm sure you would. You could turn Kristen Stewart's forward-thinking paranormal show into an ad for us.
Please.
I think that would be helpful. Just kind of hijack it. First episode, rip off your jacket. You're wearing a Werewolf Radar tee. Hell yeah.
That's the news. Other than, give us a 5-star review if you can.
Give us your stars. I want to watch this. I want to watch this as much as I wanted to watch the Kesha and the Creepies.
Dude, everything's still being published or produced as far as I know. I have not heard any delays or anything. Things are still moving forward.
For some reason, I am exactly the demographic for this, because anytime a celebrity is involved in like a ghost show, I'm like, they have to believe us now.
Well, I mean, do we know what they're going to? Is it going to be like Queer Eye for the Ghost guy?
To where they're dealing with homophobic ghost and trying to modernize them.
They're trying to give them a little insight.
Get some of the cobwebs out of the old mansion. Maybe update the sheets a little bit that they're wearing.
You don't understand. Headless Cedric is from another time. It's just the way they were back then, and the way they were was awful. And headless sometimes.
A lot of headless. It was not a good time.
Yeah.
Let's go. Should I go first? Should Nate go first? Should Jordan go first?
I can go first if you'd like. I've got one that I'm.
Fingos.
I got one.
We'll wait.
Yeah, tweet at us. Get back to us in a couple of months, and we'll finish this episode. I would like to talk to y'all about witches.
Okay.
I don't think we talk enough about spooky, scary. How'd you get so hairy? Sorry. I that's a song that I'm working on. That's a lounge song that I'm working on for Bigfoot. Boy, it doesn't take much to get me off track, huh? I don't think we talk enough about witches, and I think that they are an important subject and an important force for both good and evil in the world. People are out there pulling at the invisible threads of the universe, trying to influence things, and they rarely get the respect that they deserve. The witches of TikTok got Joe Biden elected, as I understand, which was
and they hexed the moon. I mean, they did a lot of stuff. The kids are doing it.
That's true. We were shooting for a different candidate, but Biden was fine. Get him in there until they can figure out how to make Bernie Sanders live forever. Maybe we can. Witches, if you're listening, can we build some sort of Bernie phylactery, perhaps, to keep him as like a giant Zordon head in a crystal?
I say we take his
at
body
least give him the ability to molt.
We take his body now.
A fresh young Bernie Sanders underneath.
See, that's the problem with Bernie Sanders. No one's molting him. I want what Jordan has now. He seems to have gotten a salad. Anyway. I say instead of all of that, we just I forgot what I was going to say because now I think of salad. Anyway, Bernie. Oh, we Leninize Bernie while he's still alive.
Oh, yeah. Well, they did want to bring Lenin back to life. There were early cryogenic experiments. They've only gotten better at cryogenics since Lenin's death.
Did they get him at all? Did they, even for a couple of minutes?
I think it was like a second.
It failed spectacularly. So they put a bunch of formaldehyde inside of him and kept him in that state.
It would have been funny if they woke him up just long enough for him to go, ouch, and then die again.
Well, Adam says if we don't do it now, we can clone him and try again in 78 years.
Okay. Yep. I think that's a good idea. Get Bernie clone out there. It'll have an old head and a hunky muscular body. And then we'll get him in the White House. Anyway, I digress. I'm here for another installation of Jordan Reads You a Listicle. This is from therichest.com, and this is the 10 most famous witches in history.
Sweet.
Hell yeah. Number 10, coming in at number 10, Catherine Monvoisin. also known as La Voisin, which means the neighbor. Catherine Montvoisin was the wife of a French jeweler and became famous thanks to the premonitions she's had ever since she was ever since she was littering.
Which she started doing little.
You there, littering. Cut that out. You'll go to jail unless you can hit us with a premonition right now.
And you're going to die of cancer in 3 years.
Oh, God, let her go. Let her go. After her husband's business went bankrupt, she extended her field of expertise from palm reading to selling.
So her predictions weren't always
right. She missed that one. God. I bet that's a joke that fortune tellers are so tired of. You didn't see that one coming, did you?
Shut up! Get out of here! Thank you for your patronage.
She expanded her field of expertise to selling love potions, poisons, and even abortion drugs. Hey, all right. Among her clients were many noblemen.
So it's very funny. I like the idea that the abortion drug is the middle of the Venn diagram between love potion and poison.
God, you're right.
Oh, we just mixed the two. There you go.
A little bit of love, a little bit of poison. That should kill the little poison.
Wow, you rhymed it. Holy shit.
I forced it.
Okay. Yeah, it felt like you were forcing that last part out. Well, gotta land this plane.
Drink this and don't worry about the lambskin.
Among her clients were many noblemen, countesses, and princesses. She was arrested together with her daughter under the accusation of witchcraft and was burned at the stake in 1680 at Place de Grève near Paris. After her death, her daughter's declarations revealed a series of secrets at the High Court, including a plot to poison the king.
Nice.
Ooh.
Well, you don't want to get those potions mixed up.
Oh, the king falls in love with you?
Oh, the he's just more horny than before, if you can believe that.
Or you mix it once again, the king has an abortion.
Yeah. Maybe that's what was making him a bastard.
I've aborted the throne.
Got babies in the blood. Okay. Next up, number 9, Agnes Simpson. Agnes Simpson was a midwife and healer in a village in Scotland, right at the end of the 16th century. On Halloween night, 1590, she attended a witch's Sabbath hosted by Satan.
Ooh.
Might be familiar with
That's
his
the
work.
one you got to get into.
It's the tough one to get into. Yeah, for sure. And she summoned a great storm over the North Sea at this Sabbath, meant to sink the ship of Queen Anne, wife of King James VI of England, who was sailing towards Scotland. Things didn't exactly go as planned, but the Queen was indeed forced to abandon the trip. Later, the king himself was sailing the North Sea when a violent storm broke out, summoned by the same Agnes Sampson, or at least that's what they said. The midwife is believed to have started the first witch hunt craze in history. During the same year, she was burnt at the stake as the first victim of the North Berwick witch trials, which saw 70 executions. Just as a spoiler, none of these end well for witches.
No, I doubt they do, unfortunately.
It is only recently that witches gained the right to not be burned. Number 8, Alice Keitler. Alice Keitler was a wealthy Irish moneylender whose husbands, interesting.
Whose husbands?
Whose husbands had the nasty habit of dying too soon and leaving all their fortune to her. When her 4th husband came down with a strange sickness, his children, Alice's stepchildren, began to suspect something fishy. Alice was accused of having poisoned her husbands and having sacrificed animals to Satan. Her rituals were curious to begin with, using hair from the buttocks and clothes from unbaptized children. Nevertheless, it seems strange items like mysterious powders and spells were found in her home. In 1324, she was tried for witchcraft. She was the first witch to ever be accused on Irish soil. She was sentenced to death, but she miraculously disappeared in the night before the execution, never to be seen again.
Nice.
She got away.
That's a good one.
And it brings up that
That's
witches,
a happy ending.
witches historically are just people, women predominantly, who just really know herbalism. Like they know how to make powders that heal, how to kill, just good things to know about the nature, what mushrooms not to eat, which mushrooms to give the king to abort his baby.
Yeah, and that, very much so. Also psychoactives and abortatives.
So I guess what I'm saying is that this woman MacGyvered her way out of the jail.
Yeah, or she turned into an owl.
Yeah, one of the two.
Up the chimney, which are both viable options, I think. Okay, next up, number 7. Coming in at number 7 on the richest countdown of witches. Angela de la Barth. This one has a woodcut of someone being burned at the stake, so I'm guessing that it doesn't go well for her in the end. Angela de la Barth had sexual intercourse with the devil, an affair which produced a son, a sort of half-man wolf snake beast who fed on babies. Okay, Angela.
That sounds like 3 things, to be honest, but...
Yeah, need to introduce her to the lady from the first one. Angela de la Barth was a wealthy noblewoman who lived between 1230 and 1275 in Toulouse, France. She was also an adept of Catharism, a Christian dualist movement deemed heretical by the church. Interesting. She was accused of witchcraft after a series of babies mysteriously disappeared in the area, later being found inside her son.
Oh.
It doesn't say that.
Twist.
She confessed her sins after being severely tortured by the Inquisition. Inquisition was famous for this thing where they would get people who hadn't sinned to admit to sins.
By acquisition or Inquisition, you mean the cops?
Yeah. The witch cops. Ooh, CBS this summer.
Yeah, forced confessions, learn about it. It's brutal.
Yeah, you'll pretty much say anything when there's a hot poker under your skin. She confessed her sins after being severely tortured. Angela was the first presumed witch to be executed during the medieval witch hunt. Okay. Number 6, Mother Shipton. You guys have undoubtedly heard of Mother Shipton in one way or another. Ursula Sothiel was born of a teenage mother who in turn was accused of witchcraft. She was a deformed child with twisted legs, large head, and sunken cheeks. Just like most stories portray witches, she was so ugly, villagers believed she was the daughter of the devil and was suspected of witchcraft. Mother Shipton, as she is remembered, lived between 1488 and 1561. It's quite a long life. In Yorkshire, strange things happened around her as a child, like flying objects and other sorcery. She lived as an outcast, but she also possessed a great talent. She was a clairvoyant. It seems her reputation matched that of Nostradamus, as she predicted numerous events, even in the distant future, many of which actually came true.
I wonder what really makes her survive versus burned at the witch, or burned at the stake. Sure, one of them caused a storm, but why not also accuse her of being a witch and burning her at the stake?
Yeah,
well, I mean, it sounds like she just made predictions for people.
Still, the other women in this list maybe did less than that and were burned at the stake.
Sure, I guess it depends on how if your Witchmaster General was in a Bernie mood.
Fair enough.
Do you think she ever got into a situation where someone was asking for a prediction? She got to be like, I predict you're about to have a nosebleed, motherfucker.
And punches on her mouth. God, that would be so good.
That's how she survived, just being a general badass.
What?
She grew up hard on the streets.
Fuck yeah. The Mother Shipton story starring Dave Bautista. What would you want to know if you found an audience with Mother Shipton?
What year is it again?
It is the 1561. Let's say this happened a year around 1503, right at her peak.
Will I die of the plague?
Okay, so you want to know how you're going to die.
I did not say that. I said, will I die of the plague? I'm looking for a yes or no question. I understand how this can be mysterious and go against me. I want to know something simple.
Okay.
I guess let's go with What's the name of my true love?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. See, I'm having a hard time thinking of one because I wouldn't want to get like Mother Shipton tricked. Not that she was like tricking anyone, but sometimes a portent can come with frightening implications. So I mean, it's not going to be something like, what's for dinner tonight? Because I will find out ultimately.
But you don't want a thing to where like like an Oedipus myth to where like, oh, learning his myth fucked up his life and the things he did to avoid it led him to the destiny anyway.
I would probably ask her something rather existential, like where does my peace lie?
Oh,
you know, like where do I need to go find out what it is that I'm trying to find out about existence?
Then she'd just be like, well, actually, your piece is in the second drawer down on the right where you keep all of your marijuana.
And then we'd blaze one. Nice. Okay, number 5. Coming in at number 5. Marie Jonsdotter. In the 17th century Sweden, Marie Jonsdotter once rode a man as a horse to the legendary meadow of Blockula.
Fuck yeah.
To Blockula?
Yeah. It's where Count Blockula lives.
Oh, yeah. That vampire block.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a Lego series for a short while.
Made out of Legos. Where she frequently attended witches' sabbaths. On other occasions, she and her sister rode cows to Blockula, slaughtered them, and then had sexual intercourse with the devil.
Oh.
Or at least that's what Marie's little sister claims. She was the first person to be tried during the Great Noise, a witch hunt that swept Sweden between 1668 and 1676. Marie confessed to none of the accusations, so she could not be executed according to the laws of the time. However, as the witch craze grew bigger, Sweden changed the laws requiring confession. She was accused once again in 1672 and sentenced to death by decapitation before being burned at the stake. Boy, at least they decapitated her first, huh?
Oh, yes. Learn about burning at the stake. Once again, it's awful.
Yeah,
that's that Swedish socialized healthcare.
yeah. They don't.
We're gonna burn your body, but don't worry.
It's not done. Burning at the stake's not done where it's a big flame.
Yeah, but we're not monsters. Number 4, one of the most famous witches, Marie Laveau.
Oh, I never considered her a witch.
Oh,
well, technically she's.
But right.
Unga.
Sure, fair enough. Take that, therichest.com. Marie Catherine Laveau was born a free woman of color and a Creole in Louisiana in 1801, the state where the voodoo dolls were made famous. You thinking of the voodoo glow skulls? Laveau was a voodoo practitioner and became the very icon of the practice, known as the Voodoo Queen of New Orleans. According to folklore, she was a beautiful and wise woman who could easily intimidate anyone, even the police. She practiced medicine, and world leaders came to her seeking advice. She was greatly talented in performing voodoo rituals and held the rank of supreme witch. Okay. She performed necromancy, mind control, telekinesis, and pinning, and had thousands of adepts. During a ceremony she held in 1874, 12,000 participants attended the event. She died peacefully in her home in 1881. Her daughter, Marie Laveau, also practiced voodoo, as well as Haitian voodoo.
Visit one of her 17 to 30 graves when you're in New Orleans.
Yeah.
She's all over the place.
Visit all of them. See if you can find which one leads you to, I guess, to Haiti. One of them has to be a portal to Port-au-Prince.
Yeah, they kind of did a Castlevania 2 thing to where they just kind of split the body, spread it around town. So have fun with that.
Yeah. Either that or she's just keeping, coffins in different area codes in case she wants to crash here tonight,
Smart woman.
Mm-hmm. Number 3, Agnes Waterhouse. England's most famous witch, Agnes Waterhouse, dealt with the devil, cursed people, and murdered her enemies using black magic. She owned a cat named Satan, which she sent to kill her enemies' livestock, or even the enemies themselves. She did confess to the accusations, also known as Mother Waterhouse. What? Oh, also known as Mother Waterhouse. Okay. Boy, my brain skipped a whole paragraph there.
It happens.
Agnes was the first witch to be accused and sentenced to death by a secular court. There's a lot of first witches here.
Yeah, I mean that's what gets them onto the richest list.
It's kind of like when you're like, I am the first comedian to tell that joke from my act in an airplane at altitude.
Everyone loved it, I guarantee.
Yeah, caused the little masks to drop down.
That's how you know the airplane was laughing.
It was a real heater. Her trial had nothing to do with the church. She did not repent, saying that Satan had told her she would die by hanging or burning, and there wasn't much she could do about it. However, her bravado didn't last long. On her way to be hung, she confessed to once trying to kill a man and failing because his belief in God was too strong and protected him. She died praying for God's forgiveness. Wow.
See, I bet she did. I feel like that's some whitewashing they did.
That does feel like some shit they threw on at the end.
Yeah.
She just is cursing God out, and the people are by there. We're like, she's blessing. She's asking for forgiveness. That's not what you hear.
Yeah. Right here. Right. Don't write that down. Oh, we can't write any of those words down. Just write something gaudy.
Oh, write that one down and keep it for ourselves, but don't write the other stuff down.
Write that word on a page and slip it to me later for my own sins. Number 2, the Salem witches. You guys can share a spot, right? Just all of you?
That's not very respectful, but did you guys hear that one of the last witches that didn't receive forgiveness from Salem finally did?
Oh, really?
I'll bring up the article while you go on, but yes, it's finally happening. All the witches are being forgiven.
I'm sure that she got the word in hell and was relieved of that boulder. And Warden sprung you. Okay, it all started in the beginning of 1692 when Reverend Samuel Parris's daughter and niece began acting strangely, having fits, screaming, throwing things, and contorting themselves into bizarre positions. In Salem, which should be noted that back then that was like a bizarre position could be like sitting down discourteously or not being polite.
Yeah, it's messed up.
The doctor came up with a quote-unquote reasonable explanation. The devil did it. The girls blamed 3 women for their behavior, a slave, a beggar, and an old lady. They all fitted the descriptions of an outcast. The slave confessed to having dealt with the devil and also claimed that there were other witches in town seeking to hurt the Puritans. Hysteria soon took over. Bridget Bishop was the first woman to be executed as a result of the Salem witch trials. Soon, 18 others followed on Salem's Gallows Hill. More than 200 persons were accused of witchcraft, at least 19 of which were executed by hanging, while the others died in prison. The infamous trial became a synonym for paranoia and injustice.
Very much so. And the name of that witch who was just formally exonerated, Elizabeth Johnson Jr., cleared after 329 years.
You know, I like a lady with a junior.
Yeah, shout out Elizabeth Jr. And the number 1 most famous witch on the richest.com's most popular witches is Murga Bien. Balthasar von Dernbach, the prince and abbot of the mystical town of Fulda in Germany, was a notorious witch hunter who embarked on a series of trials known as the Fulda Witch Trials, which lasted between 1603 and 1606. Marga Bien was a wealthy German heiress. Okay, well, it said it was Murga, which I think is a cooler name. But I'm getting conflicting reports now. She was a wealthy German heiress. She murdered her second husband and her children with him and attended Sabbaths held by Satan. Or at least that's what she was forced to confess while being tortured in prison. She was pregnant, but that didn't save her from execution. Oh, boo, sad.
Yeah. Meanwhile, her family's right outside, alive and well. Like, she didn't kill us.
Yeah. As the court believed, she was carrying a baby fathered by the devil. I see. God, history's bad. The Fulda witch trials led to the execution of 250 suspects over 3 years. Murga Bien was the most famous of them all and the first to be burned alive at the stake. That's fucked up. Sorry, posthumous trigger warning, everybody. But that does it for Jordan Reads a Listicle. This time, the richest.com's most famous witches.com.
The witches of riches.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine a universe to where we didn't burn the witches?
I can.
And their magic just lived on forever.
Yeah, there's a witchocracy, and things are looking okay. Things look a lot like the solar punk subreddit.
I wish for it.
But
Nate,
with more flying mounts.
You or I, Nate?
I can go. Speaking of solar punk, actually.
Okay.
This is the story of some trees, a particular type of tree, which, like a lot of my segments, will probably return at some point because I found a lot of also rans in addition to the tree I want to talk about in a segment that I'm calling Trees Nuts.
Okay. All right.
Oh my God.
Yes, it was there.
That was a good one. Did you see the thing on Twitter where a guy was like, "My son just learned about the D's nuts joke"?
I did.
It was so funny.
And I laughed at it a lot.
And he's like, I asked him where he heard it, and he said he'd tell me if I promised not to tell anybody. And I said, "Okay, I promise." And then he leaned in and whispered ever so softly in my ear, "D's nuts." Anyway, trees nuts. Very apropos.
Yeah. This is ultimately about the speaking tree or the oracular trees or the trees of the sun and moon. But I'm going to start off here with the Kalpa tree. The Kalpa tree, also known as the Kalpa Vriksha, is known as a wishing tree, but its mythology is actually much more complex than that. The Kalpa tree isn't just one specific tree in Indian mythology, it's an entire spiritual concept. Wish fulfilling may not be the most direct translation, however, because the point of the tree is not to be a genie that can give you whatever you want. Kalpa trees are prayed to because people believe they have a connection to the divine. Even Alexander the Great went searching for these trees in the hopes of having his wishes fulfilled. Like many people, he was drawn to the idea of gaining all the earthly pleasures he could ever desire without any effort. There are many trees in India that are considered more or less sacred depending on claims that have been made by people who said their wishes were granted. Many of these trees still receive a great deal of visits from people, and offerings are often left for the trees in hopes of gaining favor with the gods. One tree in India is believed to have the power to help people in court, and those who go to the nearby courthouse will often pray to that tree beforehand. So that's just kind of a variety of tree that you can find in India.
Oh, okay.
Does things for you.
I thought it was one specific tree with just a line of criminals. Just like, let me touch the tree. I got to get to that tree. Quick, I got a court date in half an hour.
There is a specific tree though that Alexander the Great went to, and I don't know if they were referencing this tree specifically in that list of 10 amazing legends of tree mythology. Mm-hmm. But we're going to jump over to this the specific one, the talking tree. These trees are also called the oracular trees, or the trees of the sun and moon in India, and may still exist today. These trees were an open secret where people would come and worship these and ask questions about their life. Unbelievably, the trees answered in somewhat human voices and probably in Sanskrit.
What?
Alexander the Great did. So we know that Alexander wrote a letter to Aristotle. It exists. There's a record of it. He described that there were two parts growing from one tree. Each grew into a complete tree and was called the sun and the moon. In the daytime, the response that came from the sun part, and in the nighttime, the moon answered. They looked like cypress trees. Alexander asked the tree a question, and the sun tree answered it in a masculine voice in front of many locals and his soldiers. Not only that, the answer was a prophecy that foretold his death, and it did come true.
Whoa! Okay. So
Marco Polo also went in search of these trees and found them.
Wow. Holy shit. Did you guys Did you guys ever play Divinity Original Sin?
Yes, I made it pretty far, but
great game, incredibly complex. There's a point where you go to a goblin village and there's a totem in the middle of the village, and you end up finding out, spoilers, that the voice that it speaks with is just the town shaman in a cave beneath the totem who answers. And so when I hear stuff like this, I immediately think, oh, it's like that snake that who's that crazy comic book guy
Moore.
That Alan Moore worships.
And the robot
snake. Thank you. Yes.
The robot on the Amazonian planet in Futurama. It's that.
Yes. That there's somebody behind the curtain doing the voice. And boy, you got to have some fucking stones on you to be the guy in this tree. Watch, I got a good one. I'll say it to Alexander. I don't give a fuck.
You're gonna die.
Oh, what's he doing? He's gonna break me like the Gordian knot. I'm a fucking tree. So here's a sort of a slightly longer and more up-to-date article about the trees of the sun and moon from digitized manuscripts. The trees of the sun and moon. In modern times, moon trees are trees that grew from the seeds that were taken into the moon's orbit by Apollo 14, which I did not know they did, but sounds pretty rad, actually. Which launched for the third manned mission to the moon on January 31st, 71. Sure. Medieval people, in contrast, would have associated moon trees with an entirely different undertaking. The campaign, of course, began in 326 BC by Alexander the Great. They go into the story of him finding the tree, sends a letter to Alexander, which is recorded in Epistola Alexandriae est Aristotelem. He visited a grove with two holy trees. Inside the grove, he met a high priest of more than 10 feet tall who explained that one tree was male, could speak in the Indian language, and foretold one's future at the rising of the sun. The other tree was female, spoke Greek, and foretold one's future at the rising of the moon.
Dude, that's crazy.
It's crazy.
And of course, he prayed there and asked the tree, and it said, "You're going to get poisoned in Babylon." And then that happened.
Wow, crazy. So even if it was somebody inside the tree, that person had incredible abilities of prognostication.
Or was the one, unless they were the one that poisoned them.
It was a long game.
Yeah, unless they're also a famous, I've got a poison gig on the side.
Unless they're, one of the many residents that didn't enjoy Alexander's conquest and would have, lifelong reasons for vengeance.
Here, give him this potion. No, that's the love potion.
The oracle trees feature in several Alexander narratives. One of these is the Roman Alexander en prose, a French translation of a 10th century Latin version of a Greek Alexander romance, spuriously attributed to the historian Callisthenes. In illustrated copies of the narrative, the oracle tree are sometimes conflated with the dry tree, another tree that Alexander visited and in whose branches he found the phoenix, like the self-resurrecting bird.
Oh, not the city.
No.
Right. There's a whole phoenix in here. Look. There's a Stuckey's and a Target.
Hey, there's Alice Cooper golfing.
What is this? I'm Alexander. This is beyond me.
I do like to think of him walking around going, "I'm Alexander." What is this? Hey, listen, buddy, I'm Alexander.
The oracle trees were well known to medieval encyclopedists and chroniclers. In the 13th century L'Image du Monde, Gautier de Metz referred to them as reference points. In the 13th century Speculum Historia, Vincent of Beauvais stated that the balm of the trees allowed the priests at the grove to live for 300 years.
Whoa. Is that why they were super tall?
I assume, yeah.
This is wild.
1 foot for every extra 100 years you get to live.
Bummer. My grandparents definitely went the other way. They were getting smaller.
The 14th century Polychronicon of Ranulf Higden attributed their longevity to the tree's apples. A unique Middle English translation of the Polychronicon in Harley manuscript 2261, doesn't really matter, describes the trees as follows. The trees of the sun and moon are in India, and by their apples, priests live for 500 years.
Whoa! Upgrade. This is blowing my mind right now.
John Mandeville, the supposed author of a fictional travel memoir describing the wonders of the Holy Land, Africa, and Asia, located the trees of the sun and moon that spoke to King Alexander in a desert beyond the unidentified river Bolmer, but noted that he was unable to visit the trees because of the dangerous animals in the deserts, such as dragons, serpents, lions, and elephants.
Wow.
You can also find them on maps.
Yikes, elephants.
The Higden map, for example, marks the spot where Alexander prayed for answer from the trees. Okay. Other mappemundi, such as the 12th century Tournai map of Asia, the Salter world map, also illustrate the oracle trees. And there's a bunch of cool old medieval illuminated map pictures. Eventually, the legend, somebody in the Harleian Mapamond, which was produced around 1540, moved the trees from India to sub-Saharan Africa and changed the name to just Trees of the Moon.
Okay, pretty good prank, I suppose.
Yeah. It's possible that the map maker was conflating the trees with the equally legendary Mountains of the Moon, which are the source of the River Nile. And it makes sense because on the map, they're located approximately where these mountains would be.
Jeez, nice job, dipshit. Way to blow it. You ruined this myth for all time.
Yeah.
Now nobody knows where they are.
However, in a Dungeons and Dragons aside, next time you play with Harlan, you should mention there's a Harleian Mapamond.
Ooh, and
see what he can do with that.
For sure.
This is and now here is a modern tale. This is from Thursday, July 26, 2018. So this is just under 4 years old here.
Wow.
This is from the News Minute. Myth of the Speaking Tree Goddess, how cops busted the rumor of Telangana village.
Okay, here we go.
It is an established fact that trees and other flora have life. Recent studies also suggest that plants can hear when they are being eaten, but can they speak? Well, a miracle palm tree in a tiny village of Kondagatu Muthumpet in Jagtial, Telangana, could apparently, at least till the intervention of the police.
Somebody called like a noise complaint. This tree, all night it's talking, yakety, yakety, yeah.
And then the tree comes and it's just silent. This tree doesn't snitch.
And then the second they walk away, hello, my baby. Hello, my honey.
2 days ago, rumors about a palm tree's ability to speak spread like wildfire and created ripples across Jagtial district. Seeing this unusual behavior of a tree, villagers declared that the tree was a goddess and started worshiping it by applying vermilion turmeric and a garland wrapped around it. The tree was inside the property of Malasham Good, a toddy tapper. I assume toddy tapper is some sort of Britishism.
I mean, if it is, it's beyond my British knowledge.
Right.
One who taps the toddy, perhaps.
I suppose.
Oh, who's been tapping this toddy?
Well, hot toddy is a type of liquor drink.
Now
so maybe
that's
like
true.
someone, like it's a type of fancy drink maker.
Or
Yeah,
Tell us on our Twitter.
Yeah, give us your best toddy tapper, and we'll pick from them, and you'll get a sash and a crown.
I think it's someone who makes a long straw like Shaggy and drinks your hot toddy from across the room.
According to locals, 5 days ago, village children were playing near Malasham's house when they heard someone crying in the vicinity. Scared, they complained to the village elders. Though the village elders rubbished it initially, later even they could hear the sound. Perplexed about where the noise was coming from, they came to the conclusion that the noise was coming from one of the many palm trees belonging to Malasham Good. While some were puzzled by the strange noise emanating from the tree, a few women gossiped that the tree was possessed by goddess Yelama Thali. Before others could determine the exact reason of this bizarre occurrence, the tree was given the status of a goddess, said the village sarpanch Bhaskar Reddy. Soon, news about the palm tree spread to neighboring villages. Scores of people started thronging the place every day to hear the noise coming from the tree. Subsequently, Telugu News Channel V6 did a small story on it, which prompted the police authorities to visit the village and dispel the rumors. Speaking to TNM, Malaya's Circle Inspector Nagander said, "We visited the village on Thursday evening along with the the SI and Sapranch." I guess that's like different branches of the police force,
Sure.
maybe.
Which squad?
Yeah. Maybe Sapranch is a local logging industry.
Sure.
I don't know. We examined the tree and could not hear anything. The villagers must have heard honeybees buzzing and must have freaked out, he said.
That was their...
That's the police explanation, is they listened and they didn't hear anything.
Good God.
And they went, I guess it's honeybees.
I think Roger was right. Ain't no snitch.
Yeah,
Don't snitch.
for real. We have educated the villagers not to fall for such illogical things and the need to maintain rationality, Nagander added. Following the intervention of the police and the Sarpanch, the villagers have stopped worshiping the tree. The Sarpanch said, "We dispelled the myth about the tree's ability to speak. When Malashem didn't seem convinced, we cautioned him that some con man will use this opportunity to construct a temple in the vicinity and deprive him of his home."
It's true.
So yeah, that was a very recent occurrence of a kalpa or talking tree.
Wow.
Or perhaps wishing tree.
Very wild.
Or potentially a goddess living inside.
I will say it's very interesting that the cops got there and just nothing happened, which is like, maybe it's still going, maybe it's still going. Maybe the tree knows not to talk to these men of weak heart.
Yeah.
And they would not believe.
And it seems like the villagers would maybe be keeping it a secret, like if the tree stops talking, you hold that silence.
Yeah. Yeah. If the tree stops talking, where are we going to get our lottery numbers from?
Exactly. They're arresting the tree on Rico.
Police showed up and promptly shot the tree to death.
Free Young Thug and the tree.
But yeah, that is this segment, or this week's segment of Trees Nuts.
Trees Nuts. Wow, bravo, man! I gotta say, today I was having kind of a real just bored Prince kind of day. Like, I've seen everything there is to see. And like when I was looking up witches and stuff, I was like, have we done this before? I feel like I've talked about everything already. And Nate, once again, you have proven my dismal Prince mood to be a fallacy by blowing my mind with a tree I've never heard of. You think, just when you think you've heard about all the magical trees.
All the trees. I did find an article that talked. They went into a whole thing, and I think you talked about it. The Madagascar man-eating tree.
Yes, yeah. There's a couple of
pretty fun,
strange carnivorous trees out there.
Trees aren't a family or something. Did you guys read that article that came out?
No.
So trees.
What do you mean? Like their root structure is not?
No. So trees
actually
don't have trees aren't like a living being, kind of the way we structure them. Like they don't have a taxonomic group.
Boy, of all the things he said, this is how Roger gets canceled.
Yeah. Anyway, trees are mystical beings that don't have a taxonomic group.
I was thinking the other day about just
taxonomical, exclusionary, radical, loggerist, arborist.
I was thinking the other day about how much my plants in my apartment move. Like every day I kind of turn them and let them get more sun on one side than the other. And they always turn towards it over a very slow period of time. And even like watching trees in time-lapse videos is always so interesting to me, that we share the planet with these organisms that just experience time so much differently than we do.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
A whole day is the blink of an eye to them.
Well, and like there have been multiple experiments where people subject trees to different sounds usually, and they respond, or they seem to respond.
They seem to like metal.
Same.
I'm going to talk about something totally different than all of this, because trees I don't believe exist, but that's something for me to be counseled about.
Yeah, well, if trees existed, birds would be in there, and birds don't exist either.
Boy.
So
Birds don't exist. I'm going to talk about
round we go.
Why did people start eating mummies? Specifically,
I said I didn't.
Egyptian mummies.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully you haven't heard about this, Jordan. You might know about the Curse of the Pharaohs, which was claimed to cause a number of bad luck, accidents, illnesses, and deaths at the beginning of the 20th century.
King Tut's tomb, right?
King Tut's tomb was the greatest one, but other tombs had various curses and whatnot. Curses were just something you put on a tomb to be like, if you open this, bad shit's going to happen to you. And now, because there's bacteria and germs that are in caves, we now let them air out, which caused a number of the illnesses attributed to the curse. But you know what we don't talk about? Mummy cures.
Oh, how you can cure someone from being a mummy?
No, how you can cure someone by giving them a mummy to eat.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say, once that brain's out, that's, can't get the toothpaste back in the tube.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those situations. I found this on livescience.com titled, Why Did People Start Eating Egyptian Mummies? It is from Marcus.
Question for you. Why did people stop eating Egyptian mummies?
Oh, we'll go into it. This is from Marcus Hermes, published 2 days ago. Mummies were a prescribed medicine in Europe for 500 years, is the subtitle. Why did people think cannibalism was good for their health? The answer offers a glimpse into the zaniest crannies of European history. Oh, crannies.
Oh, yeah,
crannies, probably.
Zaniest
cranny.
No, I think stick with crannies.
I'm going to use that one. Anyway, into the zaniest corners of European history at a time when Europeaners were obsessed with Egyptian mummies. Driven first by the belief that ground up and tinctured human remains could cure anything from bubonic plague to a headache. Could you imagine going to a general store and looking for human remains for both? You need separate human remains for your bubonic plague, and then you need some different human remains because you just got a migraine.
Give me some Sudafed and some ZQuil and that crispy hand up there. And what's this? Jar of penises? Yeah, I'll take that.
That'll clear up your ED right away.
Sure, you'll have a mummy dick, but...
And because of this, there was, as one might say, mummy mania.
Okay.
And I don't know if the article is insinuating that perhaps we don't have a bulk of the mummies that we should because of looting and then grounding into cures, but...
Oh, that was absolutely a thing.
Perhaps that's why we don't have a lot of the Egyptian relics we used to. We ate them all.
They were also, I don't know if it's going to mention this in your article, but mummies were used to make a very specific color of paint.
Oh,
Lots
mummy maroon.
It was just called mummy, and it was just gray, and they already had gray.
This is my version of black. Only I can use it.
You remember that guy?
Oh, he's still around.
Vanta Black.
Kapoor or something. Anyway, Mummy mania. Faith that mummies could cure illness drove people for centuries to ingest something that tasted awful. Mummia, the product created from mummified bodies, was a medicinal substance consumed for centuries by rich and poor, available in apothecary shops, and created from the remains of mummies brought from Egyptian tombs back to Europe.
Boy, if ever there was a Monstroco product. it's this.
Yeah, but this was the first one. This is how they made their fortune.
Of Monstroco, for sure.
By the
Monstroco mummy paste. Good for what ails you, unless you're a mummy.
By the 12th century, apothecaries were using ground up mummies for their otherworldly medicinal properties. Mummies were a prescribed medicine for the next 500 years.
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean,
I see why not.
They're full of magic.
They are full of magic.
You see, Jordan, your hindsight, Nate, you're in the moment. You need a cure for madness.
Give me that mumia.
Give me that mumia. How do you do it? How do you do mumia?
Oh, we're gonna find out. In a world without antibiotics, physicians prescribed ground up skulls, bones, and flesh to treat illnesses from headaches, to reduce swelling, to curing the plague. Not everyone was convinced, however. Guy de la Fortine, a royal doctor, doubted mumia as a useful medicine and saw forged mummies made from dead peasants in Alexandria in 1564.
Good God. Hey, you looking for mummies on the cheap?
It makes a lot of sense. That it'd be like bathtub
so
mummy.
Much sense.
Guy de la Fortine was one of the first people, doctors specifically, who cared about consumer protection and realized at this moment that people could be conned.
Wait a minute. I've got an idea. Hey, you're looking to buy some cheap mummy, and then that's how you end up as a mummy.
And his biggest thing about this was that he was worried people were not consuming genuine Egyptian mummies.
That's what, he doesn't want to see the knockoffs out there. This guy's
hilarious.
He's a real purist.
But the forgeries illustrate an important point. There were constant demand for dead flesh to be used in medicine, and the supply of real Egyptian mummies could not meet this.
Wait a minute, this one's not a mummy. He's wearing a watch.
Now, not all doctors thought dry old mummies made the best medicine.
Ooh, you want a juicy one?
Yes, some doctors believed fresh meat and blood had a vitality the long dead lacked. The claim that fresh was best convinced even the noblest of nobles. England's King Charles II took medication made from human skulls after suffering a seizure, and until 1909, physicians commonly used human skulls to treat neurological conditions.
Fuck.
If we just put a different skull inside you, maybe.
This guy's gonna need a full skull swap, I'm afraid.
From what this article is saying, it apparently was what am I trying to say? It was a thing to do in your culture, such as poor people would eat poor people's poor people mummies, and the rich and elite would eat mummies of the rich and elite.
Wow. Okay. So you don't want to, what if a lord wanted to slum it up and just was like, I'll eat some peasant mummies tonight.
To be honest,
fucked up.
That's his sick kink.
I think that was also probably why
bandage.
I think that's also
bandage.
I think that's also probably why Guy was so upset that people were not eating authentic, ancient royal mummies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because how dare I eat a poor person mummy?
Yeah.
Which is why he started selling that Heisenberg mummy. the good blue shit.
The good shit.
Now, by the 19th century, people were no longer consuming mummies to cure illnesses, but Victorians were hosting unwrapping parties where Egyptian corpses would be unwrapped for entertainment at private parties.
Ooh.
I do love this as a piece of the history of unboxing.
It does make sense. You know, what could be in there? Oh, it's a guy. It's just another guy.
Napoleon's, I guess we're now into mummies, no longer cure, but entertainment.
Sure.
Napoleon's first expedition to Egypt in 1798 piqued European curiosity and allowed 19th century travelers to Egypt to bring whole mummies back to Europe and bought off the street in Egypt. And that starts the current theft of all the mummies. Go to the Denver Museum, see a mummy.
That was why he was there in the first place. Napoleon, it was the first beer run. He was like, we are running out of mummy. I'll be back.
As I said, Victorians held private parties dedicated. Now I just think of Victorian or Napoleon. That was the reason for the conquest. His parties didn't have enough mummies, and he had to take everyone else's mummies.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Victorians were holding private parties dedicated to unwrapping ancient mummies. Early unwrapping events had at least a veneer of medical respectability. In 1834, the surgeon Thomas Pettigrew unwrapped a mummy at the Royal College of Surgeons. This time, autopsies and operations took place in public, and this unwrapping was just like another medical event for the public.
Okay.
Which was the thing to do at the time. You might remember some scenes in some Frankensteins to where science was like what you did.
A learning.
Like, I'm going to go watch this science experiment. They're cutting up a mummy.
They're going to cut a mummy open. I think it's full of treasure. I think it's full of bones.
Which is literally what you did. You know, what else are you going to do? There's no TV or radio yet. It's Victorian England.
Yeah. Get some mummy.
You go to the slaughtertorium.
Yeah, you get some mummy money on these things. Who's in there? You know, is it a man? Is it a woman? Is it a royal? Is it a poor person who saved their whole life to get their brain yanked out?
And
Only for you to bring them here to this party, unwrap them before all of your dumb friends, grind them up, and do lines of mummy.
And I guess that does wrap up my segment on Mummies, the cure for the cure. And
Mummies.
Overall,
Curse or
Mumia,
cure.
it seems like you could sniff it, of course, but it really seemed to be something that you put into a liquid and drink.
Get a big fucking glass of mummy in the morning, huh? Oh, God.
I'm trying to find
sludge.
Really it, but it was like something you ate. It was kind of like a vitamin as well, like a pitch.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Sure.
Anyway, if you know where to get
Throat coat.
your werewolf radar boys are looking.
We'd like some mummy. Honestly, vegan mummy. If you can come across it, what would you make vegan mummy out of?
Well, probably those plant-based Jimmy Buffetts.
Yeah, or a vegan.
I mean, I don't know. I guess
at what point is the body no longer a meat product?
You see, you're asking the wrong questions. You're all like, how do I make a human into a plant? What you need to be asking is, how do we mummify ourselves a tree?
How do we make a plant into a human?
Oh,
easy answer. Put a dress on it. Folks, thank you so much for joining us this week on Werewolf Radar. Y'all are the best. Check us out on Twitter. Check us out on Instagram, I think is how you say it.
Mm-hmm.
Check us out on Twitch. Mondays at 4 p.m. We're playing a brand new homebrew D&D content campaign that we are calling Night Bastard, which is the name of our band. That's right. We're in a band in this one. So 4 p.m. Mountain Time, twitch.tv/werewolf_radar. Come hang out with us. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yep. Also check out 14filmfestival.com. We're judges in that. There's some great films. Support the 14 community over in England. It's what they call paranormal.
Mm-hmm. That's what they call it. 14, named after Charles Fort, the discoverer of ghosts.
And also, if you like what you do, check out our YouTube. Hit the button, whatever you want over there.
Put 5 stars anywhere you feel like it.
We have
Comment
so many
5 stars under our YouTube videos.
we have so many places you can put 5 stars. It's ridiculous. So please give us all of the stars that you have available, and also shout out to Chuck from Snappy Little Numbers for our intro and outro song, Come Howl With Us.
Yep. We were able to get it because Dark Council members supported our Patreon at patreon.com/werewolf radar. And we used some of that money to make an awesome theme song. And we give paranormal rewards. I'm doing interviews. In theory, I'm going to be interviewing the person who speaks to Sandia, the ET, soon.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's going to be wild.
It's going to be a wild one.
Her name's Sue, and she's lovely.
Okay. For a liar, just kidding. I'm kidding, Sue. I'm sorry. It was a joke had to go there, and that's all I could think of. However, that does it for this episode of Werewolf Radar. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for telling your friends. Until next time, our sign-off line for all listeners on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Punch the sky!
Spaceman
Joe.
Additional clip from The Tragedy of Macbeth 2021. Sound design